My name is Kit, and this is my campervan, Willie. When I left my home in London at the age of 20, I moved to the Isle of Thanet on the southeast corner of England, where I lived for the next 2 decades. Now, having lived in the north of England for close to a decade, I've decided to head south once more to revisit some of my old haunts. Join me on my adventures. I had a destination in mind. Sadly, we don't live in that world. Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name's Kit, and this is my campervan. Thank you very much for joining me, and welcome to episode 4 of my Return to Planet Thanet series. I hope you've enjoyed the previous episodes. You saw me visit Westgate, Margate, Cliftonville, Broadstairs, Botany Bay, Grove Ferry, the Yew Tree Inn, and Canterbury. And here I am now, about to leave the island again. But before I do, let's take a trip to Manston Airport. This is another interesting historic area of Thanet. It's an airport that was very significant in World War II, and it's an airport that I had the opportunity of filming at when I was a filmmaker hundreds of years ago. These exclusive, never-before-seen clips are from my personal archive. I filmed them back in 1998 on my camcorder during production of a television pilot that was eventually abandoned. The show would have followed the firefighters in all areas of their training, and for the initial promotional video, myself and my colleagues were granted unrestricted access to all the exercises, as well as interviews with the top brass. We spent 2 weeks following the trainees day and night and collected dozens of hours of dramatic footage, which now languishes in a vault somewhere. I only recently rediscovered my personal camcorder footage and had a difficult time getting it into a format that I can use here, but it's still quite dramatic. It would have been a fascinating series if it had been commissioned. Manston for me is a place that I experienced some quite exciting and spectacular things.
This is Kit Ellis reporting live from ex-R.A.F. Manston.
But for a lot of people it's just a place to have a sedate visit to the museum, which is absolutely fine. I was planning on taking you to the museum myself.
You ever wonder?
I'm flossing my face. This is what people do, isn't it? face flossing. It's a thing.
with one another, with the feeling pass. Would you find out with me if it all starts to crumble?
Ready to start the day.
We'll search the pieces for a hope or a mumble. It's not for me to decide if I should be the one by your side. And hope we know when it's better to say goodbye.
Okay, I had a destination in mind, and now I'm stranded in the middle of... I don't know where I am. I want to be somewhere else. Anywhere else.
If we know where
This isn't fun.
for one another,
I'm grumpy. I don't like it.
are we just another project? We're both fixer-uppers, just waiting to crumble.
So I'm currently parked up at R.A.F. Manston Airport. This was for a long time a Royal Air Force base, but the airport is just in front of me, and behind me is the Memorial Museum, the R.A.F. Manston Memorial Museum, where they have exhibits of Spitfires and various other World War II planes. Unfortunately, I can't take you inside the museum at the moment because I'm here early and the museum doesn't open until 10, and I'm planning on moving on before then. Over my right shoulder, just up the road, is a military establishment, a Ministry of Defence base, where they trained the aviation firefighters in specific aviation firefighting skills. I'm talking a long time ago. I'm not sure if it's still used for that purpose, but there's certainly an active presence there, because when I went to have a look and take some photographs, I was escorted off the property by a security guard, but not before I got a shot of their sign saying official secrets and so forth. I think I've done Manston now, so I guess it's time to move on. So I'm parked up at the Dog and Duck Inn at an amusingly named place called Pluck's Gutter, and I stopped here to get some shots of the attractive river that meanders through this area and the boats moored on each bank, and also to change batteries and do a few other things that I couldn't do while driving. But while I was looking at the boats and taking some photographs, I noticed that one of the boats was named Frodo. And for me personally, that's quite a moving thing to have happened. It feels as if the universe guided me here, because my cat Frodo died almost exactly a year ago. I still haven't got over it. So to see her name written on the side of a boat was quite moving. Obviously the boat isn't named after my cat Frodo. I named my cat after Frodo the Hobbit from Lord of the Rings, and obviously someone with a boat had the same idea. So it was nice to see Frodo's name, but also quite sad. So I'm going to take a little moment and then move on. I'm at Wildwood Animal Park. I don't like it. I thought it would be a safari park, but it's not, it's a zoo. I mean, I'm standing next to a relatively large enclosure at the moment, but I've walked past some that were heartbreakingly small. I'm standing in a beautiful area of woodland, but hidden inside the trees are these tiny cages. It's supposed to, I suppose, create the illusion of the animals being in the wild, but although the park calls itself Wildwood, it's anything but. You know that scene in Jurassic Park when all the guests are travelling through the park and none of the dinosaurs show up? Well, that's a little bit what it's like here. One depressed Arctic fox and an empty tyrannosaur paddock. There is an argument to be made that a lot of animal species are endangered, in danger of going extinct, and sometimes keeping them in zoos and running breeding programs is possibly the only way to ensure the survival of a species. And in that situation, I have no problem with it as long as the animals in the zoo, in the breeding program, are looked after well and have lots of enrichment activities and have the happiest lives that they can possibly have whilst breeding and breeding and breeding and helping to maintain the population. But I still don't like it. I don't like any animals being kept in captivity. There is also the argument to be made that animals living in the wild generally don't have such a long life expectancy as those kept in captivity. Although I don't know who's out there measuring it, and also there's the quality of life issue to consider. Are they better off living a short life but a happy one in the wild where they can run free or fly free? I really don't know. I find the whole issue very confusing, very perplexing, very upsetting and distressing. Really, I would just like the world to be the way it was before humans ever arrived, and for the animals to evolve in their own natural way and to live happily without human interference at all. Sadly, we don't live in that world. My visit to Wildwood left me a little bit confused and a little bit uncertain about where I stood and what I thought, because according to all their signage and their literature, they're doing very good work. They're doing conservation work. They're preserving and restoring endangered species, and that is, of course, very commendable, and I 100% fully support those efforts. I just didn't like the cages. That's what it boils down to. I didn't like seeing the animals in small, cramped enclosures. It felt old-fashioned. It felt like an old-fashioned zoo. I like more modern safari parks with much more range and much more open enclosures. So I felt uncomfortable there, but at the same time, I totally support what they're doing. And if, as they claim, and I've got no reason to doubt them, if, as they claim, they are repopulating these endangered species, then of course that deserves a big pat on the back and it deserves support. And so I'm glad that my money is helping towards that worthwhile cause. My trip to Thanet was very nearly at an end at this point. I was running out of time and I had already run out of money. But there was one last place I wanted to visit before heading back, and that's Reculver Towers. Now, Reculver is perhaps a place that you could arguably describe as the gateway to Thanet. It's an important stop on the route in or out of Thanet because it's really interesting, very attractive. So we've reached the end of my Southeast Kent Odyssey. I've done the Isle of Thanet, I've done Canterbury, been to a zoo, which I didn't like very much, although I guess they're doing good work. And now I'm at Reculver Towers, which is kind of the gateway to Thanet in some respects. Very difficult taking photographs here without people standing in front of your camera. Go, 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 go! Okay. I will always consider Thanet to be my spiritual home, but although I really fell in love with the place again during the week that I was there, I'm glad that it's no longer my home. I've moved on, and I'm glad of that. At the beginning of this series, I quoted Bill Bryson, or misquoted Bill Bryson, and said that you can't ever go home again. And I disagreed with him. But having completed a week's tour of my old stomping ground, I find myself in agreement with the inestimable Mr. Bryson. You really can't go home again. Once you've left, going back is never quite the same. So it was a fun visit, and Thanet certainly does have lots to recommend it, especially during the summer months when the sun is out and the beach is full and all the activities are taking place. It's a marvellous area of coastal Great Britain. But is it home anymore? I don't think so. I'm starting to believe that this is my home, and by this I don't just mean my camper van, I mean the open road. The world is my home. And that's a comforting thought.